Welcome to the Savvy Giving Gal podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Turilli Smith, and today I'm joined by Sandy Bassin, the founder of Her Story Mentorship, the nonprofit and mental health initiative dedicated to supporting the mental wellness of teen girls. Sandy is an entrepreneur and an advocate with a background in behavioral and mental health. Drawing from her own experience in long-term recovery, she's passionate about early intervention, prevention, and helping teen girls navigate the unique challenges they face today. Through research-backed strategies, creative programming, and purpose-driven mentorship, Her Story empowers girls to build resilience, define their purpose, and use social media with intention. Sandy's impactful work has been featured in Oprah Magazine, Refinery29, and Meta, and she's collaborated with organizations like Kind Campaign, the National Alliance for Eating Disorders, and the Clinton Global Initiative to drive meaningful change. In this episode, we talk about the power of purpose as a protective factor in mental health, how Her Stories workshop and programs are transforming teen lives, and what drives Sandy to keep showing up for the next generation of strong, capable young women. Sandy, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Melissa.
Hi.
Thanks for having me.
I am so excited you're here. Sandy and I go way back to our 20s, living in New York City, and I always knew you were destined to use the power of your loving heart for good. I really always believed that, and that's exactly what you're doing. Can you take us back to your personal experience and what sparked the idea for Her Story Mentorship?
Yes. So it was in 2016 or 2017, I had just dissolved a company that I started in 2012. Mm-hmm. We had a really strong beginning with this company. It was a women's shoe technology. It was called One Click Shoes, Shoe Separates. Mm-hmm. It was I was very fortunate that it was funded relatively quickly, and the right people in the shoe industry got involved. Mm-hmm. And I found myself kind of running a business with no prior experience, but with people behind me supporting the idea and supporting me in moving forward with the idea. Mm-hmm. At that time, as this company started to take over more and more of my time, as ideas and visions do, I knew that I had to make it about something greater than the shoe technology and greater than the potential, sale and acquisition of the company maybe down the road. And if I was going to be taking time away, and I don't say this from a place of like some Pollyanna place, but I knew I was going to be away from my kids in building this business, and I knew it had to feel purpose-driven. It had to have a mission behind it in order for me to throw my all into it. And I decided to partner or reach out to an amazing California-based, but now they're national nonprofit called Kind Campaign. And I sent them a message, and they got back to me right away.
I love
and
it.
I said, we're starting this company. We have this shoe technology. We're at the very early stage. Here are our partners. I would love to, when the day comes that we're selling these shoes, donate a portion of our sales back to your organization, because I love the work that they were doing. They were working specifically with girls in schools, a lot of anti-bullying work. And because of my history and how I struggled as an adolescent, it just felt really aligned with what I was passionate about. And so what happened over the years of us building this shoe technology that ended up never making it to market, I ended up watching and witnessing the work that the Kind Campaign was doing. And I knew, I was like, that's what I want to be doing. I want to be creating something impactful that can go into schools, that can impact girls. And I thought that possibly the shoe technology and the success of it would create, no pun intended, a platform for me to go into schools and do meaningful work.
Right.
So in 2016, 2017, when we had to dissolve the company, and I was devastated.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
My husband said to me, the thing you want to do is help girls. Why do you need the shoe to do it? Just go help girls. And I said, well, I'm not a therapist. I don't work in schools. I'm not a teacher. we don't have this exciting product to go in and like even engage girls with. And he really just inspired me and said, if anyone can do it, you know, I believe in you, you can, and you'll figure it out. And that's kind of where it all started, and taking the passion for wanting to build this shoe technology to then create more impact with girls through Kind Campaign, and transition it to her story. And I really took my lived experience building that company and the confidence that experience gave me, and translated it into a program. And it's hard even to talk about this because it's so nuanced. And there was a coffee date with one of my friends who said, you know, the work that you're wanting to do with girls, what if you integrated something about entrepreneurship and use your experience from starting the shoe technology company, and how do you take that and turn it into a program at school? And there were just all these moments over the course of probably a year that helped develop Her Story mentorship. And it looks really different today than what it did when we first started.
Well, all great things evolve, right? So it starts with a little bit of light and an idea and a passion and the heart that you have. And then the pieces start to come together and fall into place. And that's what seems like has happened. And even the purpose that you got from doing that one project, I think you really showed your light, and then you're like, oh, I know I can have other girls show their light through doing these purpose-driven projects. So can you talk about how you teach these girls to use entrepreneurship and purpose-driven projects to gain self-esteem?
Yeah, so we launched the program, developed it over a couple of years, and launched the program virtually in, I believe it was 2021. And we, well, I feel like I have to backtrack.
Do it. Tell everybody. Come on,
Actually,
do it. Backtrack.
I have to backtrack.
Okay.
Because I keep saying we.
Yes.
And there really should be someone else sitting here with me right now.
Okay, tell us who she is.
Amazing co-founder.
Okay.
Ann Letcher Hayden. She lives in Los Angeles. Ann and I have known each other for many, many years.
Okay.
And when I decided that I wanted Her Story mentorship to be a nonprofit, and I wanted to be able to bring people into the mission, whether it was through volunteer work, whether it was through people or young girls feeling like they wanted to take something we were doing and bring it to their school community. I had come from the for-profit world, and this mission for impacting girls, this chapter of it didn't align with for-profit work for me. And it felt like we could be more impactful in numbers, and we could be more impactful if we open our doors really wide and allow other people to get involved. And that was why I decided to go the nonprofit route, is because I wanted it to be community-based. I wanted it to be mission-based, because I wanted it to exist sooner rather than later. And if it was just me and it was just working with one girl at a time, it was going to take a lot of years to build something that was substantial. And so when I first put it out into the world, a friend of mine, I had this group of women over the pandemic where we met once a week virtually, and we had all kind of been working in some way, shape, or form, and had to take a step back from our work because of the pandemic, because we had children at home. And we decided, how do we keep our work and our visions alive during this time when we were feeling really kind of inundated in mommyhood and all the things we were all walking through in isolation. And we started meeting on Zoom, and we started sharing what our ideas were and what our visions were. And Her Story was a concept with some programming on paper, but it hadn't really been fleshed out in any significant way at this point. And that group helped me take next steps. And the first next step that I took was to put a GoFundMe out.
Okay.
And to just share it with friends and family and people who I thought would be interested in learning about this mental health initiative for teen girls. And I sent it out to a bunch of people. I asked people to support. And Anne, who's now the co-founder of Her Story, reached out to me and said, "This seems amazing. I want to get involved. Can we hop on a call?"
I love it.
And we hadn't talked in many years, but we'd always stayed in touch kind of here and there through social media. And anyway, Anne and I got on a call and she said, I want to do this. How do I get involved? And I said, can you volunteer your time for the next 6 months and let's work together and let's see what that feels like.
Right.
And the program is launching virtually in a few months. And she just jumped on board and helped provide really important feedback for the launch of our programming. And we launched with, I think, 10 girls virtually. We had 2 different cohorts. We had mentors come on who helped facilitate the program with the girls. And it was this really kind of a bare bones program, but like the bones were strong in looking at what are your strengths.
Right.
And we had the girls do this through a workbook and we had them do it in community with each other and with mentors.
Okay.
What are your strengths? What's meaningful to you? And what are you passionate about? And then we had the girls write personal mission statements. And through their personal mission statements, we then asked them to come up with an idea that was an extension of who they were and an extension of their personal mission statement. So I used myself as an example. So my personal mission statement was that I wanted to create something impactful for the mental health of adolescent girls. And my vision was to create programming that could reach girls nationally, right? And I didn't need to know anything else, but I know what's my mission and I know what my vision is. And that's what we had the girls do. And then we spent the next weeks fleshing out that vision. And that's where the entrepreneurial experience came in, teaching them about how to research everything from who's your target market, to what funding would you need to pursue your vision, what partners do you already have access to, what resources do you already have access to, putting together essentially we called it an intention starter kit, but essentially a business plan that would allow them to pursue their idea should they want to pursue it outside of the 8 weeks of our programming. And that's where we started. And we received such positive feedback from the families who were involved, from the girls who were involved. And we're still in touch with some of those girls today, a few years later, which is really cool.
I mean, that's an amazing story from your experience to meeting your friend, and her being like, I want to get involved, then to having this 8 weeks of programming and impacting those 10 girls to where you are today, is just a testament to that passion and that intention that you had. I'm so excited to share today's sponsor, Vitality Bowls. Not only is it our go-to restaurant for clean, allergy-free acai bowls, smoothies, wraps, salads, paninis, and more, all made with organic granola and organic acai. But it's also an incredible franchise opportunity. With over 70 locations nationwide, Vitality Bowls offers entrepreneurs a chance to own a business that prioritizes health, quality, and community impact. Plus, Vitality Bowls is giving my listeners an exclusive discount of $1,000 off the initial franchise fee. Just email franchise@vitalitybowls.com and mention the Savvy Giving Gal podcast for more details. You have 2 daughters. I have a daughter. I can't tell her enough how much she's worth, how beautiful she is inside and out, how she's capable. All of these things I say at nauseum to her. I want her to have that kind of self-esteem that you're trying to build in these girls. How do I do that, Sandy? Tell everyone listening how you encourage the parents to be doing that as well, or what you say to these girls so that they truly believe all of these things about themselves that maybe we didn't as adolescents.
Well, I think one of the things we have to talk about when we're talking about adolescent mental health is statistically, we know when girls turn 14, they hit their lowest level of self-confidence, more so than boys do. And there's a lot of things we can point to understand the why behind that, but the why isn't that important to us at the organization.
Okay.
It's more that we know this happens. And so what intervention vehicles can we put in place in our communities, in our schools, in our homes to help girls at this moment where we know, and it's certainly something I experience, confidence drops, and we start to not just drop our confidence, but drop ourselves. How do we help our girls hold on to who they are during the roller coaster of adolescence? When we started doing this work, I knew if we were going to raise our hand and say, hi, we're here to talk about teen girls and mental health, we had to talk about social media. And to the point where, and I've said this a lot, but it actually felt like it would be negligent not to. These are the waters they're swimming in.
Yeah.
It was not my experience as an adolescent girl. It wasn't your experience, right?
Nope.
Probably anyone listening to this, it wasn't our experience, but it's their experience.
Yes.
And I also knew, and the girls were very quick to tell me this, that it couldn't come from me and it couldn't come from you.
Okay.
So this part of our programming, where we're talking and teaching intentional social media use, had to come from young women who spent their adolescence on social media. And you asked what we could tell parents to do, and
or tools, because I feel like I am trying to be the best parent to this teen girl, my daughter, that I possibly can. And but my mom said it, and I still felt some of those things that you mentioned earlier. I still had fairly low self-esteem, and so what can we be doing to put tools in place for these girls, my daughter, your daughters, that really help them through this, where they have the confidence to move forward in their life, knowing they're worthy and capable?
So I'm going to say two things.
Yeah, I love it.
One is, and I believe this wholeheartedly, the most important thing we can do with our teens is maintain a connection to them. That is the most important thing. So the second thing I'm going to say did not land with my daughter. She didn't want to participate in it the way that I wanted her to. And I had to be okay with that because that's not who she was and it's not what she was interested in.
Okay.
And so what I'm going to suggest is something that parents, and this is research-based, it's helping, and this is what we do in our programming, helping your teen develop a sense of purpose. And that doesn't mean that the purpose that they develop at this time in their life has to be, a path they follow for the rest of their lives or even for the rest of their adolescence. But what I would suggest, the Stanford Center for Adolescence did a study on this, and there's also been much larger studies done on the development of purpose in people. The Stanford Center for Adolescence did a study on the development of purpose in young people, and it has an incredible impact on how they show up in school, physical health, which is really interesting, but emotional health, so much so that it's considered a protective factor, meaning it can help mitigate risk against things like anxiety, depression, and attempted suicide. So purpose is a really big word. And we've spent a lot of time in our organization and talking to girls about how do we break down what the word purpose is so that it's digestible and it's something that's attainable.
Yeah.
And what we really teach is purpose is about knowing what your strengths are and what you're passionate about. How do you combine those two things and create impact in the world outside of you? And the beautiful thing about purpose is when you start doing purpose-driven work, it helps other people, right? And that help is beautiful.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of physical benefits to that help.
So what we're teaching at Her Story is, yes, it's helping other people, but what's underneath that helping other people is how much you're helping yourself. And that's the protective factor. And when I say we're teaching that in the organization, that's really what we're teaching to parents is helping your kids align with who they are, what they're passionate about, and helping them create something in the world that's an extension of who they are that has impact on their community. And it can be impact on their familial community, like within the home, within their friend group, within the community at large. It doesn't have to be some, large scale idea. It doesn't have to be a business. Anything where they're bringing themselves forward in an effort to help other people, but you have to have their buy-in and they have to be connected to it. And if they're not connected to the idea of doing this, and part of this with my daughter, who's now 18, when I tried to start this work with her when she was like 12 years old, part of it was I'm her mom and she knew I was developing programming, right? And she said to me, Mom, this isn't my thing. This is your thing. And we have to respect our kids' boundaries when they offer them to us, right?
Yes.
But I knew what she was passionate about. And I feel that we have to find ways to take our kids' passion and help them bring it to others. That's really where we start to develop purpose. And the idea behind our programming is really about not turning pain into purpose, because that's what most of us do. We have pain points and then we decide I'm going to dedicate my life to doing this. How do we use purpose as an early intervention vehicle? Because we know it mitigates risk of mental health conditions. So rather than waiting until we're in pain or waiting until we have those teachable moments, how can we start introducing the idea of purpose at an earlier age? And I think there's actually a lot of articles about this, like introducing your kids to mentors, giving them experiences that are rooted in giving them entrepreneurial experiences or anything that's rooted in something they can create that can build self-esteem and confidence. And it's an extension of who they are and for them to see how they can make impact. I'm speaking at kind of broad terms right now, but there's a lot of information online on how to do this. Our programming walks girls through this, but what we decided a few years ago, let's see, we're in 2025. What we decided after we initially piloted our program and then launched our program with 25 girls across 5 different schools in New York was, in order to make impact and reach more girls while we're navigating this mental health crisis that our teens are still in, we needed to pivot because while our program was impactful with the 35 girls that we worked with, it was really, really hard. And we're so grateful to those school partners that we had. It was really hard to get our programming into schools, especially as a new organization and especially a program that was, at that point, I think we were 10 hours long.
Okay.
Over an 8-week period. It was just hard. It was really hard. And we didn't have the resources to be able to grow in the way that we know we needed to reach more girls. So this is amazing. Honestly, I think you are teaching us so much. And I think you found this really amazing sweet spot that people don't talk about a lot, is driving this purpose with young girls and doing it before they might turn to drugs, might turn to mental health issues, might turn to suicide. I mean, I think it's a phenomenal thing to catch them early and to teach parents about a way to give them this purpose. We know with any sort of mental health disorder. And I'm including eating disorders in that, because eating disorders are sometimes thought of as this disorder that's over here. 1 in 4 girls will develop an eating disorder when she goes to college. A lot of girls have disordered eating way before they go to college, but it's 1 in 4.
That's a lot.
And the partnership that we have for the work that we've done, and the partnership that we had for our last, our inaugural event last September with the National Alliance for Eating Disorders, we learned so much from working with them, that eating disorders really, when we're talking about mental health, really need to be included in that conversation. And we know in terms of substance use disorder, early intervention is everything. So we talk a lot about prevention, and there's a ton of prevention programs out there. But for girls and for teens who are starting to show signs, right, the earlier that we can get in there and help them remember who they are and connect them with the parts of themselves that they feel good about, what their strengths are, what their skill sets are, and combine that with their passions and show them that they can take this formula of your passions and your skills and make impact in the world, that formula is a protective barrier. And it's completely overlooked. We don't talk about developing purpose in schools. We don't teach it. No. It's something that we really need to be talking about in our communities because we know it works. It's just not something that's prevalent.
Even creating that entrepreneurial spirit that you talk about, if you could teach a child early, because they're very capable. I say this all the time, that I don't think we give all children, but young girls, enough credit for what they're capable of doing. And if you teach them how to be an entrepreneur and have that spirit of creation in schools, you don't really create much. You go to school and you learn. But if you could have something you created yourself, that these mentors that you put in front of these young girls, these successful women, tell you this is amazing. What you're doing is you're capable of that. You could make that happen in your life. I mean, I can't imagine if someone told me that when I was 13 or 14 years old.
Well, and we were chatting about this even prior to recording this. Here's what we know is that journey, right? The experience of creating and developing, that's where all the good stuff is. It's not in the outcome. It's in the process.
Yes.
And so it's not about creating a bunch of successful CEOs, right? Although women in leadership is something we fully support and want to cultivate. But that's not what we're doing.
Right.
We're saying, let's involve our teens in a journey where they aren't dropping themselves and they're making impact in the world, because that journey will have a profound impact in their development and protect their mental health. And while they are swimming in the waters of social media, how can they use their platforms that are aligned with who they are? How can they use them in a way that's more intentional? The content they consume and the content they put out there. Can they align those things? And what we're finding, we've now, and I'll just fast forward. We went from working with 35 girls to pivoting, and now we've worked with 350 girls.
Wow. That's fantastic.
And as we grow as an organization, which I hope we do.
You will.
Thank you. I will take that. We will go back to our original programming, which was experience entrepreneurship. And our hope is to create camp experiences and retreats where girls can come and develop these personal mission statements and develop visions and build out an idea that we will then be able to support financially through our partners. If you're out there, please call us. But that will be able to support through mentorship and funding so they can actually pursue their ideas.
Oh, I love
that. Because it's the pursuit that makes impact. We're really not interested in the outcomes.
Well, it's and we were talking about this journey about how beautiful the things are that you learn about yourself during the failures and the pick yourself up again and the people that you meet. And all the people that help you along the way. And it really never ends. It's a cycle, right? So the more that you grow and learn and you want to do better and you want to do more. And so you don't really have time to think about all the other things that make you unhappy or have low self-esteem or.
Well, when you know who you are and you know you have a mission in this world, and your mission's allowed to change, right? But when you know you have a mission in this world, and for me, like, it's neither here nor there that it hasn't changed, but I've known from a young age that I wanted to do something to impact young girls. Maybe that will change in the future. I don't know. But it's a filter in which you can make decisions. It's a filter in which you can choose who you're going to let in and who you need to let go of. It's really kind of a way of life.
Yeah.
And we're learning these things and finding these things in our adult lives. But what would happen if we were introduced to this idea of developing missions and purpose at a younger age? And it's something that I feel, and I was surrounded with all the love in the world, and I was fortunate enough that, I was able to access the help that I needed at a relatively young age, and was able to spend the majority of my adult life in recovery. But if I was able to access, and when I say recovery, I mean like access my sense of self. If I was able to access that at a younger age or hold on to that, I was a really confident kid. Like I was the kid putting on lemonade stands and bringing all the kids in the neighborhood together and putting on shows. Like I was out there and I was confident. And then I became this shell of myself. And if we're able to help girls maintain who they are through those rocky years of adolescence, I think we're doing right by our girls.
Feeling good inside and out is so important to me, and that's why I love shopping eCosmetics. They offer the best in beauty from all of the top brands with great prices, free shipping, and 100% satisfaction guaranteed. It's my go-to for everything beauty. Head over to ecosmetics.com and use my code SAVVY25, that's SAVVY25 at checkout to get 25% off your purchase. Hey, travel lovers, it's Melissa. Traveling with my family to explore new cultures brings me so much joy. And all business class travel can make it even better with their top-notch personalized service. Use promo code SAVVY, that's SAVVY, to get complimentary Black Car Airport transfers. All business class travel makes it easy to focus on what really matters, cherished memories. Visit allbusinessclass.com and start planning your next incredible journey. I want to pivot back to the intentional social media and maybe give us an example of what that looks like, because I think we're all navigating that with our kids. And I love that you call it intentional social media, because we're really not going to be able to avoid it in its entirety. We can hold it off until they're in high school, maybe. But can you talk about how you explain that to these girls, what intentional social media use looks like?
So the girls that we've worked with are already on social media. Okay. So our programming, as our organization grows and as we grow, social media isn't going anywhere. But I think as we become more educated as parents and there's more initiatives by parents to delay giving phones, to delay access to social media, right? The landscape's going to change. Right now, we're working with girls who are on social media who are between the ages of 12 and 17.
Okay.
And when we made that pivot, when we said we have this beautiful program, which all the girls who participated in it said they would recommend it to a friend.
Oh,
it was impactful for them. It was impactful for our mentors who facilitated the programming. We took basically a week of programming, which was our week that was focused on intentional social media use. And we created a workshop around that 1 week. And then we created an event around that workshop. And that's how we're reaching more girls. And that's how we had our event last September, which was our inaugural event. It was called Girls in Motion, and it was centered on teens in the arts. Teens in the arts meant body image and social media. Sorry, I totally just lost my train of thought.
You're good.
But we, in our workshop, which is integrated into our events, what we're doing is we're bringing in highly visible, influential, impactful young women to talk about their experience on social media, to talk about what it was like for them on social media when they were younger. What are the challenges? What were the benefits for them in terms of things, maybe goals they've had for themselves. So I'll bring you into the weeds for a second.
Yeah, I'd love it. Yeah.
When we launched the workshop, we partnered with LaGuardia High School, which is School of the Arts in New York City. A big public school. Kids have to audition to get into it. And we found young women who were working actors on Broadway. So very inspirational, aspirational for the high school students who attended our workshop. We trained those young women who were working on Broadway or working in the arts. Some were on TV, some were in music. We trained them in our workshop and then put together an event where the students from LaGuardia attended the event, heard from the women on the panel, and then broke out into groups and went through our workshop.
Wow.
So the feedback we got from that was the girls loved it, and they thought that we ended up partnering with the school for a much bigger event where we brought in 150 girls. And we were really fortunate enough to bring in Misty Copeland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
She's amazing. She's one of my favorites.
Yeah,
she's spectacular.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
She's amazing. And she showed up at our event and she shared her experience. And we were focusing on body image in the arts. And Misty spoke about her journey in her body in the arts. And I feel like I'm not speaking about this so cohesively, but the model that we used in terms of bringing girls into the room where they will do work on intentional social media use is really about creating a space where we are saying to girls, here's something you're passionate about. So for the event with Misty, it was teens in the arts, right? You're in the arts, you're going to be interested in this event. Here's someone you're going to be interested in hearing from. Every girl in the arts wants to hear from Misty Copeland.
Every girl in the world, but yes, but specifically in the arts, but every girl in the world.
And we were really, really fortunate that Misty worked with us on this event. While you're at our event, we're going to actually, it's kind of like putting the vegetables into the brownies or whatever.
Yeah, when you pureed them, when you had little kids.
So while you're here, right, while you're here, we're going to go through this workshop. And what we're finding, every girl who's going through our workshop is having a positive experience and is wanting to continue the conversation. What they're doing in our workshop is really looking at how social media is impacting their mental health. We are not there saying, this is how much time you should be on. This is when you should have it in your room. This is when you should. We are giving them the space and the agency to really look at how is it impacting you? If you were to make a change, what change would you make? How can it have a more...
but have a more useful, I almost feel like if you use social media in a useful way, instead of a scrolling way or just an abstract way where you're just aimlessly spending hours looking at nothing or other people doing things, then it does have some positives attached to it, and they're not going to stop using it. So if you can teach them how to maybe pivot and use it in a more productive manner, I think that's great. And I also really want to comment on the fact that you're not telling them what to do, that you're trusting enough in these girls that they will end up knowing the right thing because of how it feels to them after they leave your workshop.
Yes, and that's what we're hearing. And we're not speaking about this directly to the girls, but the model that we're using that is evidence-based, not for social media, but with other disorders, is a harm reduction model. And so it's about, we're not going to get them off of social media. That's not what we're trying to do at our organization.
Right.
We're trying to help them use social media in a way that is going to create and cause less harm. How do we cause less harm? And so a piece of the work we do is, if you're going to change something, what would be that thing you're going to change? And we ask them to make a commitment to that change in the workshop. And then what we ask them to do is identify their strengths and their passions and what brings them joy and what's meaningful to them. And then we ask them, where is that showing up in your feed? And we have been shocked to find out how many girls are able to identify what they're passionate about, but it's not showing up in their feeds. And so then we ask them to integrate some of that content into their feed.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So where is joy showing up on your screen?
Right.
And there's a lot more to it than that. But that's kind of the basis of what we're doing in terms of being more intentional about how we're using our screens, what we're consuming, and also what we're putting out there. Can that be aligned with who you are, as opposed to what you want people, what parts of yourself you want people to see that maybe aren't so authentic to who you really are. And that's tricky in adolescence. We kind of focus more on the consumption piece and making sure that their content they're consuming and engaging with is as aligned with kind of their passions and their joys, at least as much as possible.
And I think when you put them in a room and they have to examine that, I think they're probably surprised as well how little they're being fed the things that make them happy, you know? And once they're taught that, I think they will be a little bit more intentional with what they look at and how long they look at it and what they allow to come into their world. So fast forward 5 years, what would you love to see with her story?
I would love to see her story become, and I believe we are on a small scale now in our community, become a trusted resource for girls' mental health, and that our programming, whether it's our social media workshops or our experience entrepreneurship program or other programming that we develop, exists nationally, and that we're reaching girls and making impact nationally.
I know you're going to do it. I just know you're going to do it. Hey friends, it's Melissa. I want to talk to you about something that has been life-changing for me, therapy. I've personally used therapy, and I can tell you firsthand how powerful it is to have someone in your corner guiding you through life's challenges. That's why I'm proud that today's sponsor is BetterHelp, an online therapy service that makes it easy to get the help you or your family needs from the comfort of your own home. Whether you're struggling with stress, anxiety, or just need someone to talk to, BetterHelp is here for you. And for listeners of the Savvy Giving Gal podcast, you'll get 10% off your first month of therapy when you use our link in the description. Take that step towards a healthier you because you're worth it. Visit betterhelp.com/savvy to get started today. So as our conversation comes to an end, I like to close with 3 questions that I ask all my guests.
Okay.
So first, what does it mean to you to be a community change maker?
I don't know. What does it mean to me to be a community change maker? I feel funny even calling myself that, but I'll let you call me that.
Yes, you are though. You are. I think that
I don't know that it's a change maker. I think it's because of the ways that I struggled when I was younger. I feel dedicated to helping adolescent girls navigate their journey. And I think it means, when you're doing work that's community driven, there's a ton of barriers to bringing visions to life, right? And there's a resilience that you end up building when you're bringing something to life. And I would say it means just like not giving up no matter what, to just not stop.
Yeah.
To just continue to follow the vision and not let barriers stand in the way of wanting to do the work you feel called to do.
Yeah.
I think that's what it means to me.
I love that. How has helping others improved your well-being?
I mean, it's the thing that brings me, I think, closest to my own connection to spirituality, to my kind of deepest connection to myself. It reminds me how far I've come when I'm helping others. It allows me to have more compassion for myself, which is a lot of times hard for me. But I would say when I'm in a position and I get the privilege to kind of bear witness to someone else's journey or to help someone else, or the times where I have worked one-on-one with younger adolescents when I was figuring out what this model of her story was, there's kind of nothing like it.
There isn't. I say that all the time, that when I'm out helping people, the feeling that I get is almost undescribable. And it makes me feel the most well I feel throughout the day. Like
where I feel I come alive and where my magic is helping other people find their magic. Where I feel really uncomfortable and where I want to become more comfortable, and I'm grateful that I have this opportunity on this podcast to do it, is stepping in more to the story of our organization. And that's part of growing as an organization. And I'm sure anyone who's listening today can hear like the fumble in telling our story and telling my story. And that's part of my own growth and the growth of our organization, in learning how to be a storyteller of our mission. And that's something that I'm excited to grow and learn how to do. So when I come back here,
you will be
in
back.
5 years.
Yes.
I know we will be in touch. But when I come back in 5 years to say, hey, here's where we are now, I want to be able to talk to you about the story of her story in a way that feels more like I'm stepping into my own power. And that's something this organization is allowing me to do. So I feel very much on my own journey, along with the girls that we're wanting to serve.
Yeah. And I think we all are on a journey, right? To really be our best selves and to come into our own, even in our 40s. You know, I think that you are so powerful in all the things that you do. And I love that you're growing and learning, and I love that your organization is growing, and it's all because of the love that you have for these young girls. Lastly, can you suggest one small act of kindness our listeners can incorporate in their daily lives?
Yes. So I'll bring it back to the screen, just because that's where we're doing a lot of our work with teens right now. Can I give 2?
Yeah, give 5.
Okay.
Do as many as you want.
One is make sure that the content that you're consuming as you scroll is aligned with something that's meaningful to you. Like, just make sure that's the majority of what you're seeing, because it actually does help. If we're going to scroll, let's at least scroll.
Yeah, some purposeful content.
Something that's just meaningful to you.
Yeah.
And then the other one is, and I know we can all do this, just send a quick text message to someone and say, you don't have to respond. I just want to let you know I'm thinking of you. Maybe someone you haven't been in touch with in a long time, or someone you know who's going through something, but just that little, like, I'm thinking of you.
Yeah. Reach out, human contact type of thing. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
So something kind for yourself and something kind for other people.
That's fantastic. So for the listeners who feel really moved by your mission, especially women who want to empower the next generation of girls, how can they connect with you and support the work you're doing with Her Story Mentorship?
Well, one thing we would love for you to do is follow us on Instagram.
Okay. What's your Instagram? Tell the listeners.
Our Instagram is just at herstory_mentorship.
Okay.
And if you feel inclined to support our work and help us reach more girls, our website has information about what we're doing. There's a donate button on our website, and any amount helps. I mean, you know this from your nonprofit
Yes,
world.
I do. Yes, and we do need money to run. So,
yep,
yes.
$10 helps, $25 helps, $500 helps, whatever. It's just if you feel inclined and called to support our mission of supporting and protecting the mental wellness of adolescent girls, we welcome your support. We are going to be hosting an event in partnership with Clinton Global Initiative called Teens in Sports, Mental Wellness and Social Media.
I love this.
That is going to be held later this year in Los Angeles. And if you're listening to this and you're in the Los Angeles area and you have a teen and she is an athlete or loves sports, follow us on Instagram so you can attend and learn about what's going to be happening at that summit.
Okay, great. I'll link all those in the show notes as well. Sandy, thank you so much for sharing your journey with all of us today. I loved having you here.
I loved being here and I love seeing you.
I love seeing you too.
Coming to fill up my cup.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope it sparks a desire in you to dedicate even a small slice of your life to uplifting others. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your podcasts. Follow me on Instagram at SavvyGivingGal. You can also visit my website at SavvyGivingGal.com. Let's spread positivity together.